Right, well, a bit of history on the car, which I hope informs the big question of what colour I should return the car to and in the interior. Well, it left the factory, the standard Triumph factory in Coventry, England, on the 10th of February 1965, is what the heritage certificate shows. And it left the factory in paint code 25, which is Triumph Racing Green, British Racing Green essentially, which Triumph's rightly renamed, and interior trim code 11, which is, well, it's 11 on the commission plate, and actually the certificate shows it as 11, I think it's 11H, which is black leather. And it also shows that the car had a black top. So the original spec for the car, which is quite nice really, a green car, Triumph Racing Green, black interior, black hood. Now, should I return it to that combination? I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. I actually can't think of a better colour for this car than Triumph Racing Green. All the parts that I've taken off the car today, well, there's a mountain of parts and there's a lot to do in terms of thinking about what to do with them all. All right, well, these are all the parts that have come off the Triumph TR4A, at least to date. And, well, obviously I've yet to, I need to be careful when I'm stepping here, but I've yet to actually remove the doors, the body from the frame, the engine, gearbox, diff, rear live axle, beam axle as they called it on the certificate, and of course the chassis and suspension, etc., etc. So there's still a lot of disassembly to come, and that's very much the next activity on the list, for which I'll be using the ramp to remove the body. But for now, I thought it was useful and fun, frankly, to lay out all the parts as I've been taking them off the car, and just quickly narrating, you know, just for my own purposes and recording it on camera so I can reference back to it, part by part, what I think everything needs. Now, as a headline statement, and well, perhaps that's not surprising, I don't think there's any part that falls into that wonderful classification where it's actually pretty good. You can go straight back on the car when it's ready. I did think that we had a winner for that category, which was perhaps the very rear chrome surrounds, but actually even their chrome is a little bit pitted, so that they need to be refinished. So everything needs something, and that's probably one of the other R words: restoration, repair. You know, whether it's re-engineering or replacement if it's, you know, completely broken or indeed missing. There are quite a few parts here which weren't actually on the original car, and we'll come to some of that. I've got some token symbols of parts that are missing, so I don't forget. But perhaps beginning with, sort of in reverse order of what I took off the car, and the soft top hood. The frame is actually in very nice nick. It was smooth in operation and the rivets are still solid. It just needs to be refinished, and I will absolutely keep that. The fabric on top of the frame really has had its day. I mean, it's not only is it torn, which could be repaired, but unfortunately the general material has really, you know, gone past its best, and the plastic is all completely yellowed. So I do need to get a new soft top. It's a great example. I can already go and speak to people and have a think about, you know, what's available and how to get one. And I think there are quite a few options for that, from, you know, economical through to, you know, the more exotic. So that's roof, and then moving back into the interior, the seats, they need to be completely rebuilt, recovered. So again, that's a case of finding out, you know, I have some ideas of who supplies the kits for those, or whether I get someone to custom build them, or whether that's locally or internationally. And then also as a question mark, because I don't have eyes on them yet, the inside frame, the webbing and everything else that makes up the seat. The seat rails are not too bad, they're quite grubby, but I'm hoping that they will de-rust and clean up that I can just reuse them, so fingers crossed for those. The dash, I think I covered that earlier. The wooden dash obviously is really gone, unfortunately. I will keep it for prosperity. Makes a nice mantelpiece piece. So we are going to get a new one. There was one in the boot, maybe we'll use that or something else. The metal fascia that sits on is all there. It's in pretty good condition. There are some elongation of the holes, which I've seen on my own TR6, but again, you know, that doesn't cause any problems particularly, and it can be refinished and reused. I'm pleased about that. The gauges, which I bubble wrapped, they were all working as far as I could tell when I started the car up. I mean, yeah, I didn't drive it, but so I don't know whether the speedo worked. They're certainly restorable, and whether that's something I break down very carefully myself, which I have done before on one of my auxiliary gauges on my car, or whether I send them off to a specialist to do that, and also options around whether I convert them to stepper motor. And then moving onwards, so other bits in the interior, steering wheel. The steering wheel's fine. I'm going to refinish it and reuse it, and I'm going to do something a little bit custom for the centre horn surround, which I'm already working on. Steering column is all there. It's reusable. It's a bit dinged up and scratched like they tend to always be. I have this wish to just have a go at perhaps at redoing the system of how the steering column is supported in these cars. It's supported by the metal dash, the metal fascia, which is not in itself particularly stiff, and you know, perhaps if I can fabricate in a dash support bar left to right inside the car, give the shell some stiffness, but also to really hold tight and secure the steering column properly. If you grab the steering column, even one that's, you know, secured very nicely with all the felts renewed in the clamps, everything still has a little bit of movement to it, at least in the cars that I've looked at. So it's something I'd like to address if possible. There's a bit of a re-engineering of the steering column. What else? The H-brace is okay. It needs to be the vinyl or new leather cover. I'm not a fan of the actual H-brace itself, the look of it, the way the sort of gear lever is presented on this rather bulky sort of nose. I've got a design ticking away in the background to make a more elegant piece that does the same job, but also allows you to perhaps use a modern single din or even double din, dare I say, but probably a single din head unit, but also a little cubby hole that goes beneath the stereo head unit that you can put bits and pieces in, your wallet, sunglasses, etc. Finally, somewhere to put stuff in your TR. What else have we got around me? The gearbox cover, single piece fiberglass ones. I just prefer one that is split into two parts or even more, because it's a bit easier to put it in and fit it up, and for maintenance of fiddling about with access to the gearbox if it's in two parts. So we'll get a replacement one of those. They are available, of course. Fan blower motor. It wasn't connected when the car came, so I've got no idea if it works. I can bench test it. It looks, I mean, it's there. It looks a bit grubby because it was at some point open to the elements because of the hole in the chassis. So maybe it's dead, I don't know, but I can either repair and restore it, or try to source a replacement unit. Then obviously we'll put in a new gear lever, surround, gear knob, the centre switch plinth. I have an idea of remaking that to accommodate just a few more switches, just to clean up how the switches are arranged in the dash. But otherwise it can be returned to original. I think those are available at least as a reproduction part. I've just got symbolically the poor scraps of carpet that were left. I don't even know if they are the original carpet, but obviously I need to decide on, you know, where the carpet's coming from in terms of the material and of course the colour, whether that's also going to be black to match everything else. Okay, and then again here I've just got little scraps of some wiring, most of the wiring loom, which I was probably tidying unnecessarily, thinking I might reuse it. I mean, case in point, the ignition switch, there are actually a couple of wires which they're fused into other wires. If I pull them apart, I can actually start to see the copper wiring. Either that's an electrical issue or it's just been sitting and degraded over time in the heat. But, you know, certainly I'd have to repair all this, cut that out, repair that section. There's also some non-original switches, and it's spliced into the original loom with very short pieces of the original wiring left. So it's a bit messy really, and although that's only some localised areas, it sort of calls into question, do you just bite the bullet and replace the wiring loom in its entirety? You know, I'm sure 95% of it, everything that's happily living inside the original blue insulation is probably quite happy and in good nick. You know, it'll certainly do its job, but the business end, all the connectors and the spade connectors, which are, you know, past their best, and the sheaths have cracked off, and all the wiring's very brittle. If you sort of bend it a bit, you know, you can see the insulation beginning to crack. If you want the car to be in good, you know, good running order and be reliable for another 58 years, at least 10 or 20 years, is the right thing to replace the loom. But I haven't got to make that decision now. Either which way, it'll probably be useful to record the colours, so that even if the new wiring loom comes in with the same colour coding, I'll have a record of how to reconnect it all. So, bit of cleaning, and then yeah, I'll film all the wire colours. How far did we get? So that's all the interior bits and pieces. Anything I've missed there? To the outside of the car, the panels. I mean, these cars are great because everything unbolts, even the rear wings. I don't know how common that is really. Normally front wings, yes, but rear wings, rear quarter panels are welded in, so great that they come off. They were pretty awful to get off, but nonetheless, well done Triumph for making them bolt on, bolt off. So let's talk about the wings, with the fronts first. So first of all, I think they are the original ones. I'll talk about a little bit of damage that the very front corner has on the shell in due course. I think it had a little bit of a ding on that corner, but there's enough evidence there that suggests that all the panels are still the original. I think that's the same with the wings. They are like for like in terms of their condition. If that had been replaced, you normally could tell. And again, the condition is the same with the front and the rears. They are quite, you know, after 58 years, as you'd expect, need a lot of attention. But the rust is not bad on them. I mean, all the flanges are there. There's nothing crumbling and disappearing. Again, I'll reserve judgment until I can really, you know, wire wheel and maybe sandblast it. Again, jury's out on how I'm actually going to do that in Dubai, just because I don't know how that works here. They will still need a lot of work, but at least it's not, you know, fabricating pieces and repair panels, or indeed replacing the wings. I would, of course, rather use the original wings. I'm betting they will always fit a lot better. The bonnet is the same, and I probably should have had it all the way up, and perhaps I'll do a shot flipped over. It needs a little bit of work just to, I think, help the stiffeners and strengthening supports that are under the outer skin. It's a little bit loose in certain areas, and there is some corrosion. In the light, it's terribly wavy. So let's see if I take all of the paint, and perhaps there's lots and lots of filler, and the outer skin is a real mess. Maybe we then make different decisions about it. But for now, fingers crossed. The rear wings are the same. This one has got a little bit of crumbliness around the very rear flange, but I think again entirely serviceable. And then the boot lid is probably the best panel of all. That's in good shape. Now, front and rear bumpers. I may not be running bumpers on the car, which will just save having to restore them, but they are in good nick, and of course I'm going to keep them. Oh, this would have been a great first task to do on the ramp, my lovely ramp. But no, I decided to do it lying on the floor. Ideally, I find a client for this car ASAP. You know, time is of the essence in terms of the business. And so if you find a client and the client, you know, wants to go a different direction with the car, compared to the car that I have in my head. You know, the bumpers then might be going back on, and we might be doing the car in blue or red or some other colour. So who knows? But so obviously they'll be kept for now, and they are in pretty good nick. The headlights, they were missing their I don't know what they call them, beauty rings or trim rings. But other than that, they are there. One of them's a bit dinged in, but I think again they're reusable. Windscreen wipers, one of them is not the original unit, so I will try to find. I'll probably get two new ones. Front grille is in good shape. It's a lovely piece actually. I think it's a sort of. I think the way it looks like it's a machine part, which it probably isn't. Like in the manner that we would do nowadays. I think it's a series of extrusions, which they could have done back in the 60s, and then the back side of it has been machined out, and I think it's then been politely bent or machine bent to create the curvature, and then these rings are then welded in. But it's a very nice piece, and I have this faint idea that it would be nice to redo the grille as a new billet piece. And really, and the opportunity there is to really open up the amount of area that is available for airflow, because it is a bit blocked off at the back of that. And then the windscreen surround. So the windscreen surround, it was quite a struggle to get that off, but it did come off eventually. A bit of corrosion on the two dowels, but I think that'll clean up nicely. The seals all need to be done, and I would like to keep the glass in, but I probably have to get it out to make sure that I'm getting new paint protection in the entire cavity of the windscreen. So I will hopefully be able to carefully extract the glass and then reuse it with a new seal. Doesn't it look great when you remove the windscreen? They always do, whether it's a TR4A or any of the later cars. I don't know why. Probably just because the lines are so much clearer when the windscreen isn't there. And of course, you know, that's how a lot of the race cars would run, you know, without the windscreen, and they would just have an aero screen or a wind deflector. It does make me think actually whether it's worth, maybe I'll have a go at doing a very exaggerated top crash panel shape as a wind deflector and call it a day on using a windscreen. maybe that's too much really. Might have a go at that in SolidWorks, see what it looks like. The central wing mirror is a bit flimsy. Hopefully that can be repaired. The two sun visors, there's only one present. I quite like removing them because it sort of cleans up the look of the thing. But admittedly they are quite useful for driving in the sun. What else? And over here is a token wheel. This is just the wheel from the spare wheel from the boot. Two spokes which are already snapped. And well, it just makes you worried about the condition of the wheels. They're 58 years old. They are a primary safety component, so I'd rather go with brand new wheels. Now the inside of the car is actually pretty good, just by virtue of how much green paint there is on the inside. So you know that's all without rust, and the boot as well is resplendent in green and blue. But there is rust in the very corner of the floors. And in fact, the driver's side, and I only noticed it after I'd taken the seat out, it does actually already have a repair panel in it. And actually it's been done quite crisply. It is a bolt-in repair panel. Again, it's been done nicely, and I just want to clean it all up, and then I can decide whether it stays like that or I'm going to run a weld around it just to seal it in properly, or indeed pull it out and redo it. But I don't know in terms of rust what else lies beneath until I can get it off the frame. I don't know whether you can hear that, but it's raining. It's a great thing. Doesn't happen often over here. Well, it happens every year pretty much, but yeah, it's lovely when it does. Car's getting a good wash.